Okay, off we go. Yep, start. Little malfunction there. Alright. We left off talking about all things were made through him. Nothing was made that has not been made. That one's just awesome with Jehovah's Witnesses. So keep that in mind. Mark that as a Jehovah's Witness one. Verse 4. In him, in the Word, was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And here again, the Apostle John is referring to a very Jewish idea. When he starts bringing up the light that shines in the darkness, this is evocative for them of Genesis. In fact, if you turn to Genesis chapter 1 and you look at the second verse there, testing my memory. Alright, we've got lots of stuff in my Bible at the front before Genesis. In the beginning, John 1:1, God created heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless, empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So we have darkness. Verse 3, I was wrong. Verse 3, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. You have darkness and God comes along and does something, and now you have light in the darkness. Here in John 1 verse 4, in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. Thus, John introduces into his gospel light, and he contrasts it with darkness. And he's going to develop this theme as we go along. You watch for it. The light was the light, that life was the light of all mankind. So he's connecting the idea of life and light. And then darkness then would be death. And so this idea, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. I would say we can just stop there. We've had the gospel right there. The Word shone into the darkness, and the darkness had not overcome it. And so now, he gives us a little bit of background. He says, in verse 6, there was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, the Word, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. So this is how he introduces John the Baptist. As we'll see in a little bit, John was a disciple of John the Baptist. He was there. He was going down to speak with John the Baptist and to be one of his disciples. And we're going to see that in a little while. So he's really familiar with John the Baptist's ministry. And so now here we have, now we're coming into some of the cultural background that we have to look at and be mindful of in order to understand the intent of the author and what the audience hears in their culture. John the Baptist, as we will see, was a really, really big deal in Palestine at the beginning, at around the beginning of Jesus' ministry. He was huge. He was a rock star. And we're going to comment on this even at greater depth later. But I need you to understand that the ministry of John the Baptist was a really big deal. You had the leaders from Jerusalem would send envoys down there to speak with him, and they'd ask him, are you the Messiah? The entire countryside was abuzz with an expectation of Messiah. 30 years before, when Jesus was born, you had angels singing, you had the shepherd's testimony, you had the prophets of Simeon and Anna in the courtyards of the church, church. Oh my goodness! And you had the King Herod, I guess. I forgot who it was. He's the one who, went into Nazareth and slaughtered all the children. Big deal then. A big. You have zealots who are uprising against Rome. You have the whole area on a high expectation. And they're looking for the Messiah. Not the Messiah as we know it, but the Messiah they were expecting. They're looking for a king that's going to come as a conqueror. And you're going to see again and again and again, this is important to what John is writing to. What is the political situation here in Palestine? They are under foreign rule. There is Romans over them, and they don't like it. They believe they're the chosen people. They should be led by God. But they haven't been led by God since before the exile. In the exile, they went away. They were carried off by Assyria. The Assyrians were destroyed by the Babylonians, and the Babylonians finally let some of them come back to... I'm sorry, and then first the northern kingdom of the Assyrians, and the Babylonians came and destroyed them. The Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem and the southern kingdom and carried everybody off. And then after 70 years, the Persians came in and destroyed the Babylonians, okay? And the Persians said, hey, go back and make your temple in Jerusalem. So they go back and they make a temple in Jerusalem, and Habakkuk tells us, not Habakkuk, oh my gosh, I can't believe I do this. All right, when you get old, you'll have a memory like mine. Don't laugh. Haggai, prophet Haggai, comes to him, the word of the Lord, and God says, my temple, build me this temple for me. I know it looks small in your eyes, but it's going to be greater than Solomon's temple, because the desire of the nation is coming to it. And then he tells them in a couple months later, he says, everything you touch in this temple that you haven't yet built is going to be defiled by your hands. Everything. And it turns out that the presence of the Lord does not come into that temple. We know this because Alexander the Great, he went into the Holy of Holies and sacrificed. Well, you can't do that. No one who's unclean, uncircumcised, hasn't performed ritual cleaning, don't they die? He didn't die. And the reason he didn't die is because the presence of the Lord was not there. Some 20 years or so before this happened, you had the Caesar come in all upset at the Jews, fomenting unrest, and he, to punish them, slaughtered pigs in the Holy of Holies. Hey, how come he didn't die, or the people he had do it? Well, because the presence of God was not in the temple. There was a time when the presence of God was in the temple, when Jesus was brought to the temple. And so its glory was greater than the glory of Solomon. But this is some of the political stuff that's going on that John is going to be speaking about here in this. And part of that is, oh, really? 10 minutes? Okay. I'll come back to this in a second.